Each and every walk is a sort of a crusade. It is a march to the Holy Land of our soul. And this comes to us from Henry David Thoreau. And I'm paraphrasing, but it's essentially the idea that each and every walk is a profound chance to get somewhere, to reclaim land that you have lost. And that land is in your soul. That land is the divine part of you that you lose in the hustle and bustle of everyday life. And if you don't go for walks in places like this, in the woods, in nature, then you truly miss out on something divine. He also speaks on, how Napoleon has the idea of 3 a.m. courage. And you really see, I think Napoleon's idea is, you really see what a man is with the 3 a.m. courage. What is the type of courage he has at 3 in the morning. And Henry David Thoreau makes a funny statement in relation to this, and he says, how much more courageous the man at 3 o'clock in the afternoon is who is sitting in a building, sitting at the office, who hasn't gone for a single walk that day. He says we should give these men rewards for not killing themselves, which is, I can't disagree with him. I don't see how, I sometimes think that, there's no better way to tell the health of your soul than how easy a long walk is with oneself. If you cannot go for a couple-hour walk with no phone, with only yourself, never by yourself, but with yourself, then I think that's truly a sign of bad health. And you should cherish those long walks alone in nature, away from society. Even right now, I don't know if you can hear it, but I can hear a leaf blower. And that's the problem with this day and age. Even in a place like this, I'm still not far enough away from the noise of society. And that's why I think it's really important to try to get out to the mountains, because you can get away from it to a certain degree in the mountains. But even then, it's still, you see so many people. There's still so much going on. And my favorite, the best hikes I've ever been on are the hikes where, I didn't see anyone for, 8 hours. For a whole day, I was in the mountains on this trail, and I didn't see a single soul. It was just me, my thoughts, and nature. And you can truly get to a special place in that environment, because whenever we encounter another human being on a walk or anything, you get taken out of the flow state that you are in, and you get brought into the trivial earthly concerns of the flesh. I see it in myself when I'm going for a walk, occasionally, and then I walk by somebody and I'm now focusing on how I'm swinging my arms back and forth. I'm focusing on the distance of my strides. I noticed I was a little slouched, and now I'm standing straight up. And it takes you out of the present moment. It takes you out of the divine communion you are having with your soul. It ruins the crusade. And that's why I think it's paramount. It truly is paramount to find a place of solitude where you can go walking. And in this day and age, it's so hard. It's so hard, especially without having to drive. I mean, it's worth driving a couple hours to go get, once or twice a month to get that. It's for sure worth it. But it's unfortunate because, Henry David Thoreau, just in his essay on walking, which I recommend you read, it's very good. He just speaks about, leaving his house and then just being, I live in Maine. He lived in Massachusetts, like in Concord, which is like an hour and a half away from me. So this would be a similar landscape that he could just walk out into. And, in fall, this is what he would be seeing. And it is pretty cool for me to be able to walk in a place like this after reading his essay on walking and realizing that I'm basically seeing the same things he would have saw. But it's such a different day and age now. It was almost 200 years ago. He could just walk out his front door, and he says he could just go to the west and he could not see a soul all day. He would be, he said he would be more familiar with the animals than with the people, and the homes of, the burrows of the animals, and not the farms of man. And that is just not something you can get anymore, which is unfortunate. But we still have to do our best to put ourselves in situations like this, situations where we do immerse ourselves in nature and we do go for long walks. And even, it doesn't, obviously this isn't a, all or nothing type deal. If you can go for a walk, and, I'm next to a cemetery right now, and this is usually where I do go for walks. And, occasionally there's a couple people walking and a couple cars, and, but I'm further enough away from the road where I can't really hear the cars typically, and there isn't so many people that it's completely distracting. So this is a great place, and it's, right next to my house, so I don't need to spend time driving to it and all that. So this is an amazing place to go for a walk. And I think we all need to find places like that near us and go for walks constantly. Henry David Thoreau says he just feels like his soul is becoming sick if he doesn't go for walks for 4 hours out of the day, which I think is a little much, but I think maybe 2 hours, I could agree with 2 hours. 2 hours of walking every day should be essential, really, for mental health, for physical health. I mean, you would easily get your 10,000 steps in. You'd easily have time to confront your soul, to reflect, to think about what you truly want out of life. I think there is not enough of that in this day and age, and that's why, I think things like midlife crises are just so, normalized, because people spend their whole lives with not confronting the idea of death and not confronting any hard truths that, you can't help but confront on a, 4, 6, 8 hour hike in the woods alone. These are things that just naturally come up, and you just naturally deal with them, and you have time to sit and contemplate and realize that the things that you want out of life, and realize the life that you want to live. But simply, people don't make enough time for these things. And I think, Henry David Thoreau talks about the walker, and I guess I do think certain people are, more inclined to walking. Some people find the beauty of it more than others, and I definitely notice that, when I go for morning walks, I see the same people over and over again. It's not like every day it's like, oh, I wonder who decided to take a walk today. It's like, all right, I'm going to see, this girl, that guy, this girl. And it's like clockwork. We're all walking all the same time, generally almost every day. And I think it's an activity for old souls, because, I think naturally old souls are more at peace. But walking should be something that we all partake in. There's no age limit to pursue the best life. And I think walking is the pursuit of the best life. It's amazing. It truly is. And it does feel like, I just really enjoyed the quote, it's a crusade. Walking is a form of a crusade, a march on the Holy Land. Because after a long walk, you do feel like you regain something. It does feel like you get more acquainted with your soul, with yourself. You start treading on new ground that you were meant to tread on, that you needed to tread on, that helps you become a better version of yourself, helps you get closer to that state of complete unity with your true self and your soul. And it puts you one step closer to reclaiming the Holy Land. And I don't, he talks about, like I said, people who are just naturally walkers. And I think we all could naturally be walkers if we just realize the beauty of it, really. I mean, maybe some, like I said, are more inclined than others. But I think we can all find the subtle beauty in the simpleness in walks. And as I said, I mean, personally, I think it's a good rule for myself when I'm thinking about, how my soul is, how healthy I am mentally, not physically, because I mean, obviously you can't be completely unhealthy physically and go for walks, but at my state and age, and walking isn't a physical thing I do for physical things, it's a thing I do for mental. And I know no better test for my soul than when I don't feel like going for walks. Because when I don't feel like going for walks, it's like I'm avoiding something almost. It's like I think, it's like I don't want to go into the Holy Land because I'm not holy at the moment. And I'll just be berated and confronted with things I don't want to confront. And that's how I know when I don't want to go for walks, when I don't feel the urge to walk for hours every day. For me, it's a wake-up call that I gotta change something, because something's not working. Something's not going right. But I made videos on walking before, and I just wanted to make this one because usually I'm not on a walk when I make them, because sometimes it's hard to I don't like making videos with people around, so it makes me lose my train of thought. Sometimes it's hard to get in a nice place of quiet solitude to think and to speak without interruptions. But if you got anything from this video, I hope you just start going for walks. Start calling crusades on your soul and reclaiming the Holy Land.